C, D, did you tell your story?
Today I have the pleasure to welcome Mrs. Monika Baumgarten, founder of Mission Invictus. Actually, I don't really want to reveal anything about it because this story is so inspiring that I want Monika to tell you more about it and to share her story with you. For the first time, we're running this podcast in English because I'm coming from the French-speaking part of Switzerland and Monika is coming from the German part of Switzerland. So as we know that there are not a lot of German speakers in the French area, we decided to choose English as our main language for this podcast. So before diving into this big topic, can you please tell me more about you and what drove you to become an entrepreneur?
Thank you, Ophelie. Yes, gladly. Well, at the first glance, I would say I'm just a normal woman at the age of 46. I'm not especially standing out in the crowds, I would say. I am happily married. I have a son and I have a stepdaughter, and I'm a former leader of a bigger Swiss company where I worked for more than 13 years. So nothing special at all at first glance. And I think people say that I'm an empathetic person, that I'm very funny and very impatient. And yeah, so that's me in a nutshell, I would say. But there have been chapters in my life which have truly shaped who I am today. One was in the year 2011, where I got the diagnosis that I have multiple sclerosis. This was for sure a moment which shocked me and shaped me. And another chapter definitely was my addiction on alcohol, which lasts, I think, a bit longer than a decade. Yeah.
Maybe you can tell us more about that. So how did you overcome, this important part of your life?
Yeah. Well, maybe I start a little bit before, because it was the year 2017 where I was really, really down. I was functioning towards the outside as a mother and a manager, but I was really worn down inside. I was very desperate and sad, unhappy. I felt lonely, and I was really, I felt I hit rock bottom. Let's put it that way. And I was seeking out for help. I tried several things. For example, AA or addiction counseling or psychiatrist. I didn't went into a clinic. That was the one thing I didn't try. And nothing seemed to work, to be honest. Nothing seemed to work. And then later, in the silence of the pandemic lockdowns, I found my way out of addiction, to get rid of the grip of addiction on my own. And this was a huge and transformative relief, really a relief. Yeah.
So for you, actually, the COVID period was an opportunity.
Indeed, it was an opportunity. A lot of noise, a lot of stress was gone, and I had the opportunity to focus more, on myself, instead of trying to fulfill all the tasks I had to do with my job and as a mother. And I also must say I educated myself a lot on alcohol and on addiction, and I realized some very important aspects. I've realized that my addiction is not my fault. Addiction is not a weakness, it's a disease. And this really gave me some more energy, and I felt the the trust in myself coming back to give it another try. I also realized that I do not need to label myself an alcoholic. That's why I had, to be honest, some difficulties with AA. Even I appreciate every support opportunity which is out there on the market, really. But I had difficulties to label myself an alcoholic because alcoholism is not my whole identity. I mean, I told you at the beginning, I have multiple sclerosis, but it never came to my mind that I label myself as a multiple sclerotic. So why should I label myself as an alcoholic? And even if I overcome the addiction, to label myself as a recovering alcoholic, or as you say in German, as a trockener Alkoholiker, as a dry alcoholic, that really, I had difficulties with that. So, and when I realized the two things, I'm not an alcoholic, I am Monika. It's not a weakness, it's a disease. And it's not my fault, because I did what many, many people do. I drank a psychoactive drug, which is omnipresent and legalized. When I realized it's not my fault, I got a lot of strength. And really that inspired me at the very end then to take the decision I would go out and help the people. I built Mission Invictus with the aim of helping and supporting. And my perception of the situation with the label and the guilt and the shame around that label is not only mine. There are many people suffering from that. So I thought, okay, there might be an opportunity to go out and to help with something in addition.
It's true that the first time I met you, you told me such an inspiring sentence. It was, you have an illness. You say, I have COVID, I have a headache, etc., etc. And you are alcoholic. And you use the verb be to define this person instead of saying this is an illness and not a weakness, as you mentioned. And to me, it was so important to realize this difference.
I don't know why it is, but for example, when it comes to certain conditions, health conditions, you just have them, as you said, Ophelie, and others which are rather associated with something negative and your fault, then the people don't have this, they are it. Like, for example, a person with a narcissistic disorder is a narcissist. A person who has a problem with heroin is a junkie. And a person who is addicted on alcohol is an alcoholic. That's sad. That's very sad. And that fuels the shame. And it is a burden for the people who suffer to reach out for help.
And also, you mentioned another aspect that was really important. You said that alcohol actually is like a drug, but it's a legal drug. Maybe can you tell us more about it? So how it works in the brain?
Yes. Alcohol is definitely a drug, not a nutrient. It belongs into the category of the depressants, and it is a psychoactive drug. It makes us dependent because it impacts our brain's reward system and many neurotransmitters, especially dopamine. And over time, when we drink, our brain gets used to that external trigger. And depending on how long you drink and how much you drink, it's easy to get dependent on that. And there are so many people addicted on alcohol that regularly shocks me. And every 10 seconds on this planet, a person dies as the consequence of alcohol consumption. And this makes me really, really sad. But it is legalized, it is omnipresent, and on industrial scales, even glorified. Indeed.
it's actually what we also see in companies. So you receive a bottle of wine as a gift when
Yes.
you, for instance, achieve your objectives. And to
Mhm.
me, it's quite shocking, I would say, to pay people with alcohol. It's a kind of recognition, and
Yes, that's
I think it shouldn't. We shouldn't um, influence people to drink. Actually,
I really congratulate every company owner, every CEO who goes for a alcohol-free company culture, because it is also so contradictory. On the one hand side, you have a lot of campaigns fostering employees' health, for example, and their well-being and work-life balance. And on the other hand side, you make aperos and business dinners and business lunches, and as you said, the gifts or the vouchers with a legalized drug. That is very contradictory in my perception.
Definitely. And maybe can we, I would say, come back to also your story about how you try to solve this problem. So, what inspired you to create your own online program? What is different from what you tried in the past, and how did your personal journey influence this decision?
Maybe to start with the latter part of your question, the decision to go out and help was completely 100% influenced by my experiences. And as I said, when I realized that I do not need to feel ashamed for my former disease, I had the courage to decide, okay, and now I go out, I show up, I back up all the people who suffer, and I try to help. And when building the programs and the services and the offers I have, well, actually, I reflected on aspects which I was missing during the time I reached out for help, and also the feedbacks of many other people I know, because we share the same experiences. At the very beginning, when you try to become sober, you would love to have somebody at your side daily, really, somebody who supports you daily. And this isn't the case, for example, when you go for classical addiction counseling or to a psychiatrist. And it's completely understandable. They do not have time in their agendas for you daily. You would have that daily support if you go into a clinic, but not everybody wants to go, and especially not everybody needs to go into a clinic. So that's one pillar of Mission Invictus, that I offer daily videos for the first 3 weeks, so that the people have me at their side daily. A second aspect is I do not welcome alcoholics. I welcome precious, wonderful people who suffer from a disease, and for sure, who have a name without any label. That's another pillar that influenced the values and the how of Mission Invictus. And then a very important aspect of especially maintaining sobriety is having a support network. And that's why Mission Invictus also offers a forum where you can log in 24/7 and reach out to like-minded people to get inspirational support or to inspire others, whatever you need. This was also important for me because, as I said, I did it. I went my way, but it was hard because I was feeling lonely very often.
Even though you had a husband, you have a husband, also your child, but it's true that you feel alone in front of the disease, actually. So it's a feeling, and it can be really hard. And
Yeah.
I think it's really important to have this daily support with people who also have to overcome this feeling, actually.
And you do not want to share your inner struggles daily with the people you love, especially not with the children. So you need like-minded people in this case. Yeah.
And actually, can you tell us more also about how you developed your own brand? Because actually you said an important sentence, and I wanted to reply, you are the master of your fate, right? So maybe you can tell us more about Mission Invictus, how you chose your brand name, and what inspired you.
Yeah. So when the decision was taken that I build up services in order to help the people, the first thing I thought was about the name, right? It was the name. And really, to be honest, it took me 5 minutes to have the name Mission Invictus. Invictus, that means unbroken, undefeated. And so, yeah, that's clear. We would like to get unbroken by alcohol. And Invictus, that is also a poem from William Ernest Henley. And I'm so inspired by this poem since ages. It was the poem Nelson Mandela had on his prison cell for, I think, more than 20 years. And I simply love it. And so that was clear. The company's name is Mission Invictus. And mission because to get rid of the shadows of addiction, it's not just one action, it's rather a process. So Mission Invictus. And then the second thing that popped up into my mind is that I wanted to have a wonderful, lovely logo. And that was then the point when I reached out to you, Ophelie, and when we get to know each other, because I got a recommendation, that I should reach out to you. And actually then you helped me designing this wonderful logo. This was the second aspect of the branding, I would say.
It was another journey, right?
It was another journey. It was a journey where you, so first of all, it was always very funny. It was intense, and you get to know a little bit more about yourself when you go on this journey too. So that was very interesting for me, really very interesting.
And it's true, because building your brand is also building your personal brand and building your personality, your story. So
exactly,
maybe you will tell us about the relationship between your branding and your personal branding.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was very important that the logo, for example, and the colors reflect really the appreciation I have for the people who suffer, and the understanding, and that there is 1000% no blame at all on my side. And that's why, for example, I have chosen the heart as a symbol, just to show this, that the brand logo reflects my appreciation and also my values. And I think we've done that, Ophelie.
We made it.
Yes, we made it.
And also the heart rate in the hearts, but in the shape of an M and an I. So the two main letters of your logo.
And this is
brand name, sorry.
Yeah, and this is really how I felt. You see the heart rate is rather a flat line at the beginning, and then after Mission Invictus turns into this little bit adapted sinus rhythm again. And this is really how I felt. I was existing when I was addicted, just existing. And sometimes I felt I'm just at the edge of surviving. But when you stop one thing, you get everything else back. The happiness, the fulfillment, the health, the joy, the pride, and especially the independence. So I'm feeling like the architect of my life and not the victim anymore. And that's why the heart rate starts bumping again.
Yeah. And can you tell us more also about the USP, so your unique selling proposition, your tagline you chose for your brand?
That is a little bit adapted from the poem. So the last chapter of the poem says, "It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I'm the master of my fate. I'm the captain of my soul." So I took the last lines and said, you are the master of your fate. You are the captain of your soul. And I repeat that at the end of every video the clients get, because this is such a strong statement where I would like to transport the message, hey, you can do it. Really, if I could do it, you can do too. So this is then a little bit adapted from that wonderful poem. Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I said at the beginning of this podcast. It's so inspiring. I really love your story, and thank you actually for sharing it. I know how hard it can be also to drop the mask.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you can also tell us more about that, because you were used to work in a Swiss company, quite big. I think you had to wear this mask for a couple of years, right? Can you tell us more how you managed that, and how you did kind of your coming out, actually, right?
Yeah, indeed. I didn't went around and tell the people I have a problem with alcohol. Definitely not. As I said earlier in our exchange, I functioned. I tried to do my job as best as I can, for example. But as you said, I was wearing a mask. I was definitely not living authentically. And sometimes um, I I felt so much burden from all that situation, and it was really hard. So, but no, I didn't tell anybody. And before I left the company, I had the opportunity to introduce Mission Invictus and to tell the people what I'm doing. And that was a very interesting journey for me, because I was standing, I cannot recall anymore, in front of 50 or 60 leaders, which I knew. And well, I said the sentence that I was battling addiction. And Ophelia, I was so nervous. It was so hard for me. And I realized that it makes a big difference if you tell this just towards the outside, or people you don't know, or people you're working with since ages. So I was really nervous. But the reactions were really empathetic and positive in general. And that felt just great and gave me another boost.
Oh, great. And actually, nobody knew, right? Nobody knew about your disease, and you were really wearing this mask, and nobody could know anything about it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's so you were so brave, actually, to have the courage to share this story in front of your colleagues, because they were still your colleagues at that moment. Now they are your ex-colleagues. But yeah, so this is one of your main challenge, I think, so at work. But can you share maybe with us some others challenges you faced when building, I mean, with your personal story, and maybe also with when you were building your branding strategy?
Yes. let's focus on the branding strategy, because there are indeed some challenges I faced and I'm still facing. As you know, I'm absolutely not a branding specialist, not at all. So when you start building it up, you start doing some research, you start listening to others, you start to get so much information as you can and include a lot of perspectives. And I realized that there are so many tons of advices out there. Wow, that can be very quickly, and you are just down and don't know which way to go. And there are also people out there who tell you, if you don't do it that way, you will probably fail. And that can really threaten you a bit. So to keep the mind focused and clear when looking around and looking for advices, that is a really challenge. That's a challenge. But at the end of the day, I overcame that because I teamed up with you. Yeah, and that's also a kind of a solution or a recommendation I would have. Just team up with somebody who knows the business, or maybe two people, but do not listen to the noise around. Find somebody you trust, find somebody you can deeply work with, where you can be absolutely honest and where you are heard. But if you're going and get all the advices and trying to make it all and to fit it all, you're lost.
So thank you very much. You're so cute. Actually, it was a real pleasure to collaborate with you, because as I said, your story is so inspiring, and I think there is so much to do to help people. Actually, it's a huge problem in our society. Maybe you have statistics about that, or it's not something. There are a lot of statistics about it in Switzerland, or
the statistics vary a little bit depending on to which source you go. But for example, if we look globally, there are hundreds of millions of people who are addicted on alcohol, and even more who have a risky behavior of drinking. And to give you some examples, for example, there are more than 70 hospitalizations daily in Switzerland.
Wow.
Due to alcohol consumption. That is, for example, a very, very sad statistic. That is far too many. And the costs are incredible. The assurances, for example, like car assurances, health assurances, Switzerland has to pay more than 2 billion per year for that. It is incredible.
Yeah,
but it's
impressive.
still absolutely legalized. You can drink alcohol earlier than you can make your driving license, for example.
Yeah,
You can
true.
get it 24/7. It is okay to drive the car not with 0.0 promille. Besides the fact that everybody knows that even a little bit impacts you and your reaction. And there are really many factors that absolutely puzzle me.
Definitely. So thank you for sharing these numbers. I think it's important to remind people how this problem is huge, actually, even in Switzerland. Maybe what advice would you give to other female entrepreneurs? Now you successfully launched your brand and built your online program. What would you like to share with other women who also have an inspiring story and maybe don't dare to launch also their own program or own activity?
Oh, that's a very good question, Philly. Well, I think first of all, be clear who you are and what values drive you. Be clear what you want and what you like and what you don't want and what you don't like. It's much easier to build something up without having any tensions or living a life with tensions. I think that's very important. The second advice is related to what we discussed before. Team up with somebody or some people and co-create and build that together, but ignore the noise on the market. Including different perspectives is of utmost importance, but you cannot include all perspectives. Definitely not. And another advice would be trust yourself and trust your gut feeling. Never say yes to something when everything within you says no.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think that, but you're more experienced in that than me, Ophelia. What would you advise to give to those ladies?
So maybe from a marketing perspective, I would say, I think I have 3 advice maybe to share. The first one is, I would say, branding comes before marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing so many entrepreneurs trying to start their marketing journey strategy before even knowing who they are, as you said, who they really want, what they really want, what they don't want to, what are their stories. So, okay, you want to communicate and to sell your products or services, but what is your story? Why are you doing that, actually? So take the time to first define your branding, and then you can start your marketing journey. And I think it's really, really important to have a why. So why are you doing that? And if you don't have a why, people can't trust you because they don't know you. And if they don't know you, they won't buy your products or services. So that is my first advice. Second, this is so important to drop the mask. And I'm one of those persons. So I was used to wear this mask for years because like you, I worked in big companies. So, you can't really show your weaknesses and so on. And if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to launch your own activity, you have to drop this mask and to show who you truly are. And I think to drop the mask, sometimes you need some help. So maybe a therapist or a community or some really good friends, but I think it's hard to do it alone. We need some help on that. So my first advice would be to remind you, maybe you only have one opportunity in your life to build your brand, because most of the time we only have one opportunity to launch our brand, to launch our project, to launch a new activity. Some serial entrepreneurs have the possibility to launch different brands and so on, but I would say that most of people, among the freelancers, you launch one project and it's the project of your life. And you have to be proud of this branding, because this branding is like a baby, you are pregnant of it for months, maybe for years, and then it comes alive and you have to communicate about it, you have to grow with it. And I think it's really important to take the time to build your brand properly, which means you don't necessarily need to have a professional with you, but it's really important you to take the time to offer you this gift, and to be proud of this brand, which will be your friend for, I hope, many years. That's the objective. So that would be
Wow.
my three advice.
Wow. Wow, wonderful. Yeah.
So thank you for your time, Monika. We are almost at the end of this podcast. Do you maybe have any last words to share with us?
I think so, yes. This podcast was about branding. Huh? So my last words go for you, Ophélie, or are for you. I would like to thank you for helping me building out this brand. You never said to me, you should do or you must, and now you have to. You always gave me a bucket of flowers, flowers of ideas, flowers of recommendations, where I could pick what really fits to me and where my gut feeling said yes. And then I came back to you and said, okay, let's do it this way. The one out of the 10 flowers you gave me. And then you fully backed it up. You fully backed it up, and we continued to work based on that. And this is a way of working which is just priceless. So invaluable. So, dear Ophélie, thank you very much.